Hey, so in today's video, I'm going to talk about the key ways of implementing what's in this book. So I'm going to talk about this idea of taking action versus just being, and the paradigm between those two, and the way that just being allows you to get more done, stress-free, it's free flow, it's kind of that flow state versus when you're starting to take action, you're going to burn yourself out. And I'm going to talk about how this book helped me implement that on a few different levels, not just on like a physical, athletic pursuing. At the time, it was triathlons. More recently, it's just lifting weights in the gym. But being able to shift the identity so that all of a sudden it's not about what goals am I going to go after and it's what's the new thing I'm going to do. It's more like, okay, this is who I am. I'm going to do what I do, and having the I part of it change. So the quickest example I can think of here is, it's kind of vulgar, but I'm not going to get into details. But if you're going to the bathroom, right, this is just the easiest example I can think of, is if you go to the bathroom with the attitude of, I'm going to try hard, I'm going to get it done, this is the strategy, and you actually focus on it and try to control the outcome, you're probably going to hurt yourself. It's going to be a bad time. And it's going to be harder than if you just relax, take a deep breath, and just allow the release to occur, right? So that paradigm between trying to do the outcome, trying to pursue it, trying to control the outcome, right? Versus just being and just experiencing that. And so that's what this book talks about. Because in this book, Maxwell Maltz goes through this whole story about how this guy was a physician, a surgeon. He handled people's plastic surgery back, I want to say in the 60s and 70s, back when like this wasn't even a thing quite yet. He was one of the very first plastic surgeons, and he would help people, heal scars on their face or massive whatever injuries. And what he noticed was some people, he fixes the external scars, but they still have an internal scar. And so this book kind of starts the idea of understanding the inner ideology of kind of who we are. And what he noticed was some people he would fix on the outside, but they would still carry those inner scars. And so this is like one of the very first kind of books in the space of self-help, on the idea of the like self-esteem, the self-image. And even on the book, it says the original science of self-improvement and success that has changed the lives of 30 million people. So oftentimes, if you read whatever Tony Robbins or any of these other, newer aged self-help gurus or whatever self-development people, oftentimes some of the original ideas came from this book. So it's highly awesome in that space. But again, I'm not talking about the book itself. I want to talk about the implementation of what was in the book. And again, it's about this deep identity level change. Now, that's talking about sort of, again, seeing yourself, let's say in the gym. Okay, hey, I'm an athlete. I'm the type of man that doesn't miss a workout. There's these identities that you can take on. And again, this is not fake it till you make it. Because fake it till you make it, again, is sort of an exterior uh, action. And again, it still falls into the take action and get it done versus just who I am and what I am. So there's a slight distinction there. And leave a comment if that's not clear. I'm happy to dig into that later, but this is not fake it till you make it. This is who I am. This is what I do. So the other side of this coin, and this is probably the best way I could ever implement this book, and even on this video, this is the best thing I could possibly say. But what I noticed is it's not about what I'm trying to go after. It's recognizing in real time, who do I currently see myself as? So I understand, let's say the gym analogy again, just because it's easy to think about right now, but it's easy to say, okay, I want to be somebody that doesn't miss a workout. I want to be that, that character. But it's also helpful to know, okay, who am I currently? My last week, my last 90 days, what are my results? What are my actions telling me? And so if you say, I want to do this, and you're living this other side of you, then it's helpful to see, okay, what is my actual self image? And then to adapt the new one, it's part of letting go of the old one. And so this book gets into how to dismantle, how to rewire, all those like fun, crazy, again, psycho-cybernetic techniques. But the idea is, how do you go from where you are to where you want to be? And again, not making it about action, but making it more about that self identity level change. So I'm very passionate about this book. It's one of my easily top 20 books I've ever read. And I've read over 1,000 books by this point in my life. And this book I've reread, I don't know, 6, 7 times. It's phenomenal. And it gets through this idea, like the idea, another great little tip from this book was, visualization. Now, visualization is something that's used by sports pros, by the military. I mean, this is used at the highest levels of activity across our society. So if you're discounting visualization as just like a self-help whatever, it's probably because you're not seeing the processes and the systems that these people have when they use visualization. This book talks about this level of visualization. And so an example from this book that I've always just randomly just always stuck in my head was, it's actually a former Senator John McCain and two other prisoners are in Vietnam. They've been shot down. They're stuck in these prisoner of war camps. I think it's like over 2 years, or it's a long period of time. It's like at least 500 days. And one of the prisoners, every day to sort of bypass the time, maybe also for his sanity, he would visualize himself at his favorite golf course, going hole by hole, you know, swinging the golf club, and whether it got in the sand or the water. I mean, like he would visualize an entire round of golf, and it would take him a couple hours or whatever, right, to help him bypass the time. But when he got home and when he was released from prison, and again, this wasn't like intentional, it was just sort of what helped him get through and survive that whole crazy experience. But when he got home, his golf game had rapidly improved, all because of the visualization that occurred in the prison. I don't know about you, but like even now, just thinking about it, just like that's crazy to me that it really does work. But again, it's sort of you require sort of that system. And so I talk about this before. I'll leave this as the last thing on my video, but how can you benefit from this sort of thing? I think about it as sort of, you can do it in a couple of different ways, kind of as you write down the goals or your objectives. And again, you're sort of, maybe you're leaning into, okay, I'm going to take the action, whatever. And you're in that space for a minute and you're sort of thinking ahead. As you go into those goals, you can sort of bridge the gap towards, how do I get towards, how can I use techniques from this kind of book towards becoming those things? And so it's about having a vision, but also having it as a personal level. So it's not just, I'm someone who can make $1 million a year, but it's also somebody who contributes and is, you can kind of dig into all the little details. And so it's not about sort of the only the result, but it's also about like sort of the day by day, or more like the hour by hour behaviors of somebody who embodies that. And so the idea is, so yeah, so that's happy to dig into that a little bit more in another video. But for now, I just want to say that's like one of the biggest things I've learned from implementing this book, is this idea between, again, taking the action and finding myself getting burnt out, stressed, and like why can't I do it, and like why do I keep failing, and like I would have frustration there. And so that pain led me to asking mentors, asking, basically just, and basically discovering this book, allowing me to shift more into the identity level thing. And again, it's not fake it till you make it. There's a little bit more of another layer to it. So as you can tell, passionate about this book, highly recommend it. But more than reading it, definitely implement what's in here. So leave a comment if you got something out of this book or from the video. We'd love to hear from you. Leave a like. And again, check out some other videos. I talk about the idea of plan tomorrow today. That's an activity every day where I use these tools, where I'm only spending at most 30 minutes in a day towards planning and thinking in the how to do things space, but I align it so that I can benefit from waking up and just being that. And it's an activity I do every day. I feel like it saves me like 2 hours every day because I'm able to just take care of it and get it done. So yeah, running a little long on the video, but again, one of my favorites. Leave a like, subscribe for more content. Until next time, peace.